7 present.
All right, we will get started. First bill we're going to hear is House Bill 1676 by Representative Perkins. I'll remind everybody in the audience, please remember to turn your cell phone on vibrate. If it does go off during committee, you will be asked to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chad Perkins, 40th District State Representative, Lincoln Pike, Rawls, Monroe County, the birthplace of Mark Twain. Everybody says their bill is simple. Mine's like incredibly simple, right? So let me take you back to 1998, a 20-year-old young man driving to college during the day, dispatching at night for the Pike County Sheriff's Office. I go on to dispatch for the Highway Patrol for a while before spending 20 years in law enforcement as a cop. But I can tell you this, dispatching is the most difficult and complicated job in all of emergency services. People yell and scream at you. You have to multitask in ways that no one else has to. It's just a fact. It's just an incredibly complicated job. I'll just read to you what the bill says, and then I'll turn it over to some questions. This bill adds telecommunicator first responders to the definition of first responders and authorizes each political subdivision to elect to cover telecommunicator first responders as public safety personnel of their system. Training requirements for telecommunicators are specified in the bill. And with that, I'll open up to questions.
Any questions for the Representative Hardwick?
Just a comment.
Proceed.
I think I speak for everyone in this room that we are all now stupider after hearing you speak. Thank you very much.
Representative, next time you're going to do something like that, please be sure to quote the entire.
May God have mercy on your soul. I will also say this if I could. So I spoke with Representative Sauls yesterday and asked him to take a look at this bill. It is, in his opinion, incredibly similar to an amendment he put on a bill last week, and he would be he told me I would be fine if I were to say that he would be supportive of this one. So.
Representative Taylor.
Just a comment, if I may.
Proceed.
So, look, you know this, but not everyone knows this. When the call comes out in the morning or in the middle of the night, and that dispatcher is there, and they're experienced, they're calm, they're concise, they set the stage for the incident before those first responders even roll out the door. So the amount of pressure that these folks have gone through that we don't normally see because they're locked away behind closed doors, I can only imagine, and I've only got just a little taste of it over the years, but this job is vitally important to the entire system of emergency services, and they are the first in that process. So you have my full support. Thanks for bringing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Representative Blaine Manlove.
Just a quick inquiry. Good morning.
Hello.
So just, sorry I was a little late walking in, so just clarification, this is just to add them to the list.
Exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for the representative? Seeing none, we'll now hear testimony in support of House Bill 1676. Everybody, please remember to fill out your witness form, fill it out before you testify, and you may proceed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is J.R. Webb. I'm representing the Missouri chapter of the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, APCO. I work at Springfield Greene County 911 in Springfield. And basically my testimony is just as the representative has alluded to, our folks are the first part of the chain of emergency response. If they don't do their job correctly and efficiently, the rest, police and fire, EMS, are not going to arrive on scene. And just a couple of examples actually occurred within 4 days of each other at my center. We had a gentleman who was in a shots fired situation with law enforcement in Springfield. He ran into a nearby house while armed and took the occupants of the house hostage. One of the occupants of the house was a mother who had a small baby with her, who was able to get a phone and call 911. My operator at the time took that call, was able to get her calmed down, and got her out of the house with the baby safely before the Springfield police then made entry in contact and eventually had to use deadly force on the individual. Another situation, we had a house fire called in our county. A female was trapped inside the house who was on the phone with us. Another operator overheard this and took another call from an Amazon delivery driver who was outside and see the same house burning. That was before fire department arrived on scene. He was able to talk to that Amazon delivery driver, get him to where the female was, and he assisted in pulling her out of a window and getting her out of the house. Neither one of these people possibly would have been saved without the 911 telecommunicators intervention. And, you know, the levels of stress that they endure on these calls, a lot of it is just not knowing, you know, they do the best job they can, they get the information they want to, or that they need to, and then leave it to the responders. So they're sitting there waiting to know what went on, and it's very high stress. We have our own critical incident stress team within our center made up of trained individuals who offer that for our staff that needs it, also anyone else in Southwest Missouri that asks for help. So I think this is a critical bill, and it's been needed for a long time. Thank you.
Any questions for the witness? Representative Blade Manlove.
Quick inquiry. Thank you for your testimony. That was powerful. Those are two great examples of why this is important. What was the name of your association again?
The Association of Public Safety Communications Officials.
Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, gentlemen, thank you for being here and testifying today.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else in support of House Bill 1676?
Good morning. My name is Jamie Taylor. I represent the Missouri National Emergency Number Association, NENA, as the first vice president. I also am a communications supervisor for the City of Lee Summit Police Department. I've been involved with public safety a little bit over 30 years now, most of the time involved with communications, 911 support. As the gentleman before me made mention, we got several calls that we've been involved with over the years. The most recent in Lee Summit was on January 18th, where we had a 10-year-old girl that was trapped inside of a house, called 911. The dispatchers stayed on the phone with her until she lost consciousness and continued to try to talk loud over the phone, which assisted the assisted the fire department in locating that individual and making a safe recovery. She's now doing great and able to enjoy the rest of her life. Another recent, we were involved with an Amber Alert out of Raytown with a 2-year-old that was trapped inside the vehicle. The police department was involved in a vehicle pursuit with speeds of around 110 miles an hour and was able to safely return that kid to the parents. All of this, the dispatchers work time in, time out, 24/7. You know, firemen get to sleep at night when they're not responding on calls, but the dispatcher has to stay awake and alert and able to stay calm at all times.
Is there any questions for the witness? Thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come here and speak on behalf of 1676. My name is Paul Jokerst. I'm a resident of St. Charles, Missouri. Most of my career has been in law enforcement. I retired as a chief of police and now currently manage East Central Dispatch Center, what we call ECDC in St. Louis County. We're the second busiest PSAP in St. Louis County. 911 dispatchers, I've said it all through my law enforcement career, as well as when I was chief of police, to go along with what you said, they are the first on the scene. In fact, I've said that they are the first first responder that anybody deals with on any certain incident. Excuse me. They are the first to calm a child who's called because his mom and dad are fighting again. They are the first to try to give life-saving instructions to a father who has just found his young wife unconscious and unresponsive. And they're the first to assist a mother who is called to give her child CPR because that child's no longer breathing, which has happened in my center. All this can happen because dispatchers across this state and across this nation are what we call EMD certified, or emergency medical dispatch. They're also CPR trained, so they can start giving those life-saving instructions to somebody across the telephone before EMS even arrives. Now, I'm not trying to diminish or bring down EMS, needless to say, or police, since I came from that career field, but just to show their vital importance on answering that phone, being there at potentially that caller's worst point in their life. So I appreciate Missouri's support on this, and to join the 11 other states who have already passed legislation recognizing dispatchers in their states. I know 3 other states have also going through their system now to recognize their dispatchers, and St. Louis County, who last year passed an ordinance recognizing their dispatchers. So again, I appreciate your support. I hope that this bill will continue to go through and pass and give these men and women the recognition they duly deserve, and that is a first responder.
Representative Taylor,
To inquire.
proceed.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to testify. It's easy for us to understand this. Can you perhaps explain what this will mean to those individuals in those positions? I mean, what benefits will it bring, or is it simply just a recognition?
I think it brings a lot. I think there's a lot of benefits because things are so different across the state from center to center and what kind of benefits they receive. I truly believe that there are a lot more benefits for dispatchers when they go through a traumatic event and need to get assistance and help that's not available to the civilian world, that's available to first responders. I think that those type of benefits will be detrimental to potentially helping save their lives as well. In addition to that, there are some retirement benefits that add to it. Loggers, who I've been a part of since I was with St. Charles City and currently now, help benefit dispatchers in retiring along with other first responders. So along with the retirement benefits as well as the health benefits, I think, that are there for the dispatchers.
So much, to segue off that, much of the issue that I'm aware of, at least for the city of Columbia over the years, was maintaining and retaining the good people who are going through the training and, trying to figure it. So we lost a lot of those. Do you think this would help in retention of good employees, perhaps?
I think it would definitely help. Needless to say, especially in today's world, a lot of people are looking at what the benefits that are there for dispatchers, for public safety in general. Coming from being an officer and a chief of police, it's harder to fill officer slots, which most officers here know, and it's getting harder to fill public safety dispatchers as well because of the stigma that's out there. The one thing that the latest applicant I just hired specifically said that one of the things that attracted her to my center was the benefits that we offer. We pay more per employee than a lot of other dispatch centers, and she liked the fact of the retirement that was available to dispatchers. So I think it will tremendously help out. I have some that we're getting ready to retire next year that says they would actually stay a little longer, so it's going to help me retain them. So I think it'd be a very benefit.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
One of the other benefits or one of the other issues that I've had a lot of dispatchers approach me about is the fact of overtime and 40-hour work week versus the 12-hour cop schedule. Do you guys at your dispatching center offer the overtime, or do you guys stay on a 40-hour work week, or are they doing the 53-hour modifieds? How is that playing out in your dispatch world? Because one of the issues that we had was our dispatchers are held to a 40-hour work week while our officers are working a 53-hour work week. on 12-hour shifts, and one of the concerns that they brought up was being able to stay on the shifts with their officers. They're guys. They're very protective of their crew.
I agree with you there, sir. I was involved in a shooting in my career, and the dispatcher could tell by my tone something was going different on the scene. So I agree with you 100% about the familiarity, getting to know your officers. I think it would be a big benefit to continue that. My center does ride-alongs. We do currently have 12-hour shifts at my center. Personally, back from my law enforcement days, I hate 12-hour days. But I did a survey in 2019 and just did one again last month, and 100% of my dispatchers love the 12-hour shifts. They cite different things. One, being able to spend more time with their family because of the way we adjust our hours. But then also because they like the fact that they are working with what you said with their officers. All the officers or police departments we dispatch for, which are 8 of them, all are on 12-hour shifts as well. So they like being with their officers. Several times, just like in my case, in my shooting, the dispatcher made a comment. They could tell something's wrong with that officer. They called him. They went and talked to him, and there was. So it's a very beneficial that these dispatchers work with the officers and build a rapport.
That's probably the number one thing. Was some of our dispatchers have to come in on a half day, or the Fridays having to do a 4-hour shift in the middle of the week to hit their 40 hours. So
correct.
The rest of the time they're doing 12s, and then have to come in on an additional day. On one of their Hell Fridays, as they call it. So if this would eliminate some of that, I think that's one of the big things I think some of them are looking for, is that continuity with the 12 hours. So I appreciate it. Any other further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen, for being here and testifying.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else in support House Bill 1676?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Scott Penman, today representing the Missouri 911 Directors Association and the Missouri 911 Service Board. Very supportive and appreciative of the committee looking at this legislation. Just a little clarification. So we very much believe the appropriate designation and recognition for the telecommunicators is as first responders for all of the reasons already mentioned. This legislation, if signed into law, doesn't mandate any different cost changes for local municipalities. It clearly states that you should look at these folks in that classification, and I think that does help folks locally figure out how to advocate for their own budgets and work with it, but it doesn't mandate that additional expenditure. I do think it probably helps with retention, maybe through some of that advocacy and the recognition. A lot of our folks end up feeling pretty unrecognized, kind of the invisible part of the chain, if you will. So we're very supportive of the bill, but I just want to hopefully so that, we're not going to force anybody's schedule changing. We're not going to force them into a different category for any benefits, but it certainly moves the profession forward. And the more professional, the better retention we have at that first stop, the better everyone in the field can react. So happy to try and answer any questions if you have those.
Any questions for witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anybody else in support of House Bill 1676? Seeing none, anybody in opposition to House Bill 1676? None, anybody for informational purposes? Now conclude the hearing on House Bill 1676. Now move into House Bill 1640.